Welcome to Philly Coco Presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 81. This is a developer's journey into making cool stuff. I am Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Cocoa Heads community focused on Apple development that primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey. Whew. All right.
Nice.
We're over the 80 episode hump.
That's the hump. It's 80. It is a lot. If you think about it, we're doing this for years now. And this is a special episode for 2025 because we're kind of coming around full circle to the original intent of this pod today.
Yes, we are. We are going back to actually making something.
I know. Yeah, remember when we used to do that?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
The plan is to make something, of course. So as we all know with plans.
Can we go back to why we're even thinking about this idea?
Because Aaron was bugging us about it because he was reminding us of our promise that we made to ourselves when we started this. I mean, that's what I thought. I thought it was because Aaron was like, "Hey, why don't we make something? I want to make something."
Well, that was maybe. Oh, go ahead.
Well, why this idea specifically?
Well, because the other ideas we started and didn't go anywhere with, we gave up on for now. No, actually, why this idea? Probably because, and tell me if I'm misunderstanding this. I thought it was because all of us are on different parts of a fitness journey. Like we were going to talk about this. So if you laid us out on a horizontal line of, on the left there was no fitness journey, just a lazy blob, and on the right you have Aaron, the fitness pro. In the middle you have me somewhere. And then we figured that's perfect. Let's make an app.
Yes.
To celebrate.
If anybody's wondering, I'm on the other side of that absolute blob.
No. So we're planning on doing a fitness.
Now, in terms of fitness, so like a good example is like the most exercise, quote unquote, that I would do is doing long walks and maybe the occasional squat set.
Yes, squats are good. I do squats.
Yeah. And then stretching. So that would be the extent.
So that's like light. That's like light exercise, and walking is great. That's what I started doing.
Yes.
Although in my notes I wrote down that this app was called, our code name was Swim Walk Run, and I have to rename the repo now.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, none of us are swimming.
So what about you, Steve?
I lift weights. I run outside on a little treadmill and outside when it's not like, the tundra. And I've been losing weight. Just consistently exercising. So I'm not at my target weight or fitness level yet. So I'm definitely not a fitness pro. And I might go back to the gym. I might get a gym membership again for extra equipment or something, but I haven't even done that yet. So I'm at home. I have my own I have a bench. I have some free weights. I have a little small treadmill. I have sneakers for running outside, and that's like my equipment and so that's where I've been for like 6 months. I've been very consistent.
And you, Aaron, where are you on that journey?
Well, yeah, I used to do triathlons before 2020, but I've been mainly cycling and in this weather, only indoor cycling for the past few months.
You're making me want a bike. What do we call it? A bike for indoors because, well, first of all, I'm starting to need something a little more than my tiny little treadmill. But also, it's super boring to run on a treadmill, and not that it's fun to ride on a bike, but at least it's like a slightly different thing. So I'm thinking of getting the bike. I used to do a lot more biking when I was
get a Peloton
younger. No, like a Peloton ripoff. I would get. I don't want to get an actual Peloton because you get an actual Peloton, isn't it kind of a pain to use Pelotons because of their software lockdown or whatever?
I don't know. I've never used their software or their bikes.
Yeah, I don't want to use their software. I just want a bike.
Yeah.
It has a wheel, it spins. That's all I need, really.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of options. We can
exactly
talk about it later.
Yeah, so we are the idea was to figure out some kind of application that we could build that was very small so we could do it in a reasonable timeline and that would be useful to us specifically, even if to no one else in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And we bounced back and forth some concepts. The one we're not doing right now that I actually liked was the one Aaron suggested of tracking the wear and tear on your sneakers. which I thought was pretty clever because you said that's actually a part of Strava's app.
Yeah, but it's just kind of buried.
Yeah.
It's buried, and there are hundreds of features.
Yeah. But if you never tried running, like I started running, like just 30 minutes a time. Like I've just been doing like 2 miles, basically a couple miles. I'm really running real slow, and my sneakers just fell apart very quickly. Like tears just showed up on the seams. Like these were not really quality, running sneakers or anything. But even so, I had never seen my sneakers deteriorate so fast. And I mentioned this to Aaron. He's like, "Oh yeah, that happens. You just eat through sneakers and you start running." so there's like a feature in Strava and other apps to track this. And I guess the point is so you could, kind of learn maybe what your situation, what sneakers work best for you, and kind of when you need to replace them. And
and just like have an easier way to see all that, because it's not great the way it's buried in Strava, and you have to like go remember to update it for every workout if you're changing shoes and stuff like that.
So we're not doing that one, I think, right now. But that was the one of the contenders.
I mean, that is a contender in the sense that if it is a niche but so valuable as a niche, maybe it's worthy of revisiting. But I think the challenge is like how would you track it, right? Is that still gonna be a manual labor thing?
Probably.
Yeah, you probably still have to like enter it, but it just a nice friendly reminder every time you finish a workout.
Yeah. Now, so there was that one. I think we also, on the other end of the scale, we talked about like an actual app for like, tracking your run or something, where you started on your Apple Watch, like the Run app. And we briefly discussed this, and it would be, because my issue was I've used a variety of these things. I keep coming back just to Apple's built-in solution that seems reliable, because other apps I've used didn't record the run properly. But I was trying to use something that was like a Couch to 5K program, which is nice because what I need when I'm trying to run is something that's like you run and you walk for a little bit, you run and you walk for a little bit, because I'm trying to keep my heart rate right, and I'm trying to kind of like build my endurance up. And so that's really hard to just run for 30 minutes straight when you haven't done it before, especially outside and you have hills and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to do all the elevations. You're not going to be able to do everything at first. So the Couch to 5K programs are great because they literally just walk you through it. Every session, they just up the amount of running and reduce the amount of walking. They change the amount so that you can kind of ease into it. But they have not worked for me because they tend to be buggy, I guess. One of them didn't record my run, and so I just never used it again because that was a waste. And it also had problems with I was trying to play music at the same time, or a podcast same time, and for some reason I couldn't get the audio to work right between the two of them, because it's supposed to tell you things. But I think it was one of the audios was coming out of the watch, and one of them would come out of my headphones. It was like, that's not helpful. I don't really need the whole world to hear my app talking to me through my watch. So that was one thing. We only briefly talked about that because there's a gazillion of them. That's way more. That's like too big for us to bite off in a reasonable amount of time. We've never done this before. So then we thought, wait a second, there's something else that we all do, and we've already kind of mentioned it here. We all track different kinds of fitness data. There's like, or at least some of us are Apple Watch users, and Aaron is a Garmin user, right?
Well,
and
you have an Ultra.
Does he have an Ultra?
Aaron?
No, I just have a.
No.
I think I have a 6.
But we all have data we do track that is also in HealthKit.
Yes.
So we thought maybe what we should do is surface some of the stuff that we like to track closely that's in HealthKit, because I know, at least for me, I go in there all the time to try to look at things. It's not the best user interface, not the best dashboard screen, doesn't really have any widget support for anything. I use a third-party app to get a lot of heart-related metrics, and that same thing, that one is kind of messy. It does have better widgets, though. To grant them, that one has better widgets. But we thought, why don't we just do something that's like that? We'll see if we can figure out the morass of HealthKit and just extract some of the metrics we want and put them onto some widgets and a dashboard. So just easier and like complications, so it's just easier for us to view these things. And that is a plan. And so it's currently, the code name is Sleep Walk Run. I don't know why. It's just something that Coach said, and I was like, I just need a name for this repo. He's like, Sleep Walk Run. I'm like, okay.
Well, I think it was more of like the
type of things we're tracking.
Yeah, the type of things that we were considering tracking, because those were the the sort of like in the progression of like extraneous work that you would do. I mean, originally it was more like tracking. Walk, run, or something like that. But,
well, it's gonna be something like that.
Yeah, so that's the code name. It's just the code name.
Well, yeah, we can. We'll figure out the code name, and I'll change repo name so we're all straight. Yeah. But the point was, it's from basically nothing, like simple metrics to more advanced metrics, I guess.
Yeah,
or it's to cover people in different stages of their athletic journey. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it is like maybe have like one for like the casual, one for like kind of like basically the ones that are just starting their journey or just in the middle of the early stages of their journey, of their fitness journey, and then one that's a little more pro. So even the idea of like a sneaker, update widget, little widget or a little.
Yeah, it probably would be like a little widget. Actually, it could be a widget.
Would be kind of interesting to at least integrate. The key thing that was the point about this particular app, at least when I was thinking about it, was like I just care about the immediate data. I just want to see it at a glance. Like I don't care too deeply about like, oh, am I trending or that kind of thing. I feel like those there are better apps for that, and that would be like too much effort without much benefit for what we're looking for. So the way that I would think about it is like we have this HealthKit database that has a whole plethora of data that is useful to us, that doesn't particularly it's not particularly well surfaced in a way that's configured for us, right? You can configure HealthKit to surface those things up, but that's a lot of like
I do,
TM
but
and refinement, and like you have to be in that app, like figuring out its very I wouldn't say obtuse interface, but just like very
it's a little confusing how to pin, but yeah, you could pin stuff to the dashboard, and I do that.
Yeah.
But then you're also, if you don't like the way it's visualized, there's not much control. And again, strangely, it doesn't have any widgets. I thought we were talking about this. I went into HealthKit. I was like, wait a second. The Health app has to have widgets for all the stuff that's on the dashboard, right? It didn't have it for me. It had a few vitals things.
Yeah, it only had vitals,
which is useful, which is the most useful thing. But it didn't have a lot of the stuff in there that I'm tracking. So, and that's the other thing. If you do expose these things as widgets, that's easier for you to integrate into to the what is Apple's focus modes, right? Because you could change the springboard, through the focus modes. We talked about that briefly before.
Yeah,
so you can show different things. So people have different. And I'm not really a big user of this stuff, although I've always like wanted to be, because it sounds so great. But there are people that they have the focus mode set up, and it like changes what's their phone looks like, changes which page is showing on their springboard, for instance. So they have different widgets set up for different environments and stuff like that. So it's just easier to integrate that things in there. You can also, I guess, integrate it in the app itself, because you can learn the focus mode. I think widgets are ideal for this kind of thing if you're trying to do it as a glance, and basically the same UI in the app and in the widget, or you can write it that way. So it's basically the same thing both places.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I didn't think to use focus mode to refine because the way I'm looking at the general interface right now, like I don't want it to be too complicated, because use sort of a Bento Box UI layout scheme to just be, and for people who don't know, it's just basically like all it is just a bunch of rectangles. It's on a grid, the different sized cubes or different sized rectangles.
That's exactly how widgets work.
Yes, exactly.
So it's the same thing. You could reflect it both in the app and in the widgets.
Yep.
And complications you can't. It's a little different, but they have their own design limitations that make them semi-consistent.
I don't know if it's good to describe it as like a stretch goal, but ideally we would have it as a complication on the watch app.
Also, what are those things called on the watch when you like scroll up? You know what I mean? Those little cards.
I think they're also widgets.
Are they just widgets? Yeah, I don't remember what the API is called. But I noticed that since the last watchOS update, my watch likes to go to that screen with the scrolling list of widgets or whatever, and tries to be smart about which one shows up. And those are more traditional, like rectangles, and obviously, so you could show more information there than just a regular complication.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the kind of the idea. It's some kind of a basically a dashboard app, and I know there's 1,000 of them out there, but who cares? This will be ours.
This will be ours.
Ours.
It'll have stats that only we care about.
We'll see. We said this before. We said we're going to build something before, and we didn't. So,
but we don't have to build. I mean, reasonably, we don't have to build the database for it, right? Because all the data is going to come from HealthKit. All the data that we will read, maybe write.
We're read only. Yeah, we're going to go read only from
only.
At least to start, we're going to go read only from HealthKit, and we're hoping that simplifies things hopefully we can find some library to help us deal with HealthKit integration.
Unless Aaron wants to do the one widget part for shoe destruction or something. That could be like the one pro thing we test out.
We'll see. See how this first part goes.
So I don't know. So I guess the question would be, what is the next steps here? Like we were talking about this at Side Project a little bit. So we were talking about like what are our constraints? And we said we wanted it to be free and easy to build and useful to us.
Yes.
We wanted it to basically be assuming data that most people have, at least if you're in one of the fitness kind of zones we were talking about earlier.
Right.
We wanted it to be data that's easy to read at a glance, and then you can move on.
Yeah.
Must fit in a Bento Box style dashboard and provide as widgets. Mm-hmm. And then I started listing potential data and formats for it. These are all just like potential things. Like step count is an obvious one with like a number, maybe arrows to show what your trend is, something like that. Like if you're going up and down, resting heart rate as a number, or maybe line graph, because I look at that one a lot. VO2 max is one I look at when I'm actually able to run outside, because it only updates if you can walk and run outside.
For people who don't know, aka myself, what is a VO2?
Aaron can tell you what VO2 max is, right? Well, it's supposed to...
it's like a measure of like how much oxygen your blood can hold. So it's
like when you're exercising, it's like at least the way that they're estimating it from Apple Watch data, it's supposed to be kind of like a general idea of what your health, I guess, how efficient you can use oxygen when you're exercising. I think I messed up my data. It was going up and then it kind of went down again, but it's been getting better though. So I wouldn't put too much faith in the number you get from the Apple Watch, because to actually get a good accurate VO2 max, you have to go and run on a treadmill. You have to like a thing on your face, and they have to measure the amount of CO2 and oxygen, I think. So anyway, it's
like a measure of your cardio fitness.
Yeah. So
and the one on the watch is giving you just like an estimate.
Yeah,
based on just like what workouts you've done.
We should probably put in the disclaimer somewhere in their app. It's like these are all estimates.
Yeah. So I think the algorithm is something like, it looks at your heart rate over time and distance, and like does some kind of calculation to see if it's improving or not. But anyway, that's one. Walking heart rate is an obvious one. Blood O2, if you have a watch that actually does that, that's mildly useful. My watch does it, so because I have an original Apple Watch Ultra.
Okay.
Weight. I mean, obviously, I look at my weight. Latest heart rate number could be useful. That shows up a lot of places. Sleeping, like time sleeping, for instance, I don't know what else sleeping's in there, but at least time sleeping. And then it's like heart rate post workout. I like to look at too. Like when you end a workout, if you have used an Apple Watch for about 3 minutes afterwards, I think it will track your heart rate, and then will make a little graph in the Health app, and it'll tell you, how many beats per minute, I guess, your heart rate went down. And so that's another good general indicator that if that number goes up, that means if your heart rate can transition, more quickly and smoothly from, exercise to more relaxed. That's a good thing. Like I've seen it on my own numbers greatly improved,
I think that's actually pretty good.
So this is the ones that I came up with when we were just talking, and there could be others, and we don't have to do all of them.
Yes, we could just keep it focused to a few, maybe decent sets that we care about or we think is like popular and or useful.
Well, just useful to us. I mean, that's like
useful to us.
The main criteria. I mean,
yeah,
popular. We have a popularity contest for which HealthKit metrics are the most popular. Like,
again,
we'll have a whole show. Like each episode of the pod, we have a contest.
It has to be in HealthKit. That's one of the key things that we want to make sure.
Or at least calculated from the data that's in there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's lots of apps to do this. As I said, I have a great heart-related data app that I think has its own algorithms for some of the data that it displays.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a feel for the kinds of stuff you can do. But it is just taking data from HealthKit. I mean, I don't input anything into it. All it does is take data from there. So you can get a lot of information. And we haven't even touched the service. HealthKit is crazy how much stuff is in there, how many types are in there.
Yeah.
It's just a really not easy to deal with API, from what I understand.
It's probably the first API I've ever seen that was just so obnoxiously long because it had so many bespoke measurements and things that you could look at and pull from, which is great, but it's also like a lot of time. It's time consuming to like figure out like how do I interface with this one and how do I what metrics am I getting back here. Also, the other thing to consider is for each and every possible metric you're trying to get, you have to ask permission for.
You have to grant permissions.
You have to grant permission from the app. The app has to grant permission to the HealthKit data. HealthKit has to grant permission to the app on the specific data that you're asking for.
You have to grant permission. There's always going to be some screen that you have to toggle a button, switch, and say, you can have this information. And it's a bit of it's a little annoying, but
HealthKit gives you a UI for that. In terms of like you press a button to get.
Is that? I didn't know there was a HealthKit UI for that. A bespoke thing.
It's a nice thing. It's nice to have, but it's also like I forgot if you can ask it all at once or ask just the specifics, right? And so that's the part that I need to verify, or we need to.
I've
verify.
used apps that ask me, and it's just like one switch and then it works. So switches everything.
It'll be interesting to add, like if, for example, you ask for information for heart data and then the next thing you ask is like, oh, can we get other information about your steps or something like that, or something of that nature, right? Like they're because like I don't know if we want to do something where we want to ask it all at once or we want to ask it. And I don't even know if the HealthKit actually does this thing where it's like, hey, look, just put it all out there. There'll be a bunch of toggles that you can allow your users to like.
That's my experience with it.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then that's fine.
And the advantage of HealthKit's nice is that like I have food entries in there.
Yeah.
It tracks like caffeine, alcohol. If you put that into food entries, so I use Food Nom for food stuff and alcohol and stuff, and that feeds in there. And you can actually in the Health app have a little on the dashboard. You could put in how much caffeine you've had or whatever.
Well, that was actually be interesting.
Like you could surface so much stuff in there. It's just buried in the Health app, and it's not. And it gets tedious because the only layout that you seem to have on iPhone is just a column of stuff. And but HealthKit is really cool. I'm hoping we can find someone who did work on a nicer API for something. Because
I think our friend Rodney did create some kind of like interface for that. I don't know if I forgot if he open sourced that or not, but like an easy, because like he had complained how much of annoying.
So like if we're talking about potential issues with building this, that is my top one in my mind. It feels like the thing that will stymie us the most is just HealthKit. Like if it turns out to be harder than we think to do or to find a library, if it's just more tedious or something, then that could be a problem, because I don't have any experience with the API, so I don't know what to expect. So
it'll also be interesting, like how much work is going to be for us to surface that data to a widget, and how hard that would be for say, hey, I want this HealthKit data to show up on my widget, and whether or not the widget is. Yeah, I mean that's if the widget has to ask as permission as well or not. I forgot exactly.
Or if you have to, or do you have to take the data and put into some kind of application cache or to sync it? I don't know. Actually, I've never thought about how the widgets work with HealthKit data. So widgets may be they may not be the primary. I think the primary focus is going to be like the app screen itself, and then because if we can get that to work, we should be able to take the Bento design assets and extract them into a widget. If we can figure out the data transfer.
Yes.
These are just some of the questions we're going to have to answer. Hopefully next time we'll have some answers to some of these questions.
That's the thing, right? Like in a way, then it becomes an architecture question about like, okay, do we put the UIs in a package so that they're accessible from both the widget and the Bento stuff, right? And the data models, right? They can be a package that can be extended to both the widget and the app itself, and sort of saves us some time there. But those are all deeper conversations to be had later on once we actually figure out, data that we can get and we want to display.
Yeah.
I think from a UI point of view, I pretty much have a decent idea of how I want it to look. So I already am opening up Sketch and sketching stuff. So we'll have a more refined version of it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I'll leave the design to you.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make sure we have something nice and pretty.
Yeah. Maybe make it in the design of an actual bento box, like lunchbox.
Real skeuomorphism going on.
Yes, a little bit of skeuomorphism there. And
I'm not sure how data goes in a bento box, but
do I want to add some aluminum foil backgrounds and stuff?
That's right. Just makes no sense because who cares?
Make it look delicious bento box.
Yeah, or all the stats going to be made out of food.
No, that's too much.
Now you're having me Google like a bento box.
Make it themable. No, but that
would be hilarious. Actually,
what are some of the goals for this thing? Like we had the reason we wanted to do this, well, because the pod, that was the initial premise of the pod. But also we wanted, I think it's kind of like a portfolio type app. We're going to release it under my account at the App Store. Like last time we released the Watch app under Aaron's account. So this is just another attempt to go through the entire process, and it allows us to learn some stuff that we all are interested in. So HealthKit, I haven't done like a lot like widget stuff, so widgets will be good for me. Of course, it's a Swift UI app, but we all have a lot of experience with that now compared to last time we tried to build something. And I think it gives Koto a chance to use Sketch, which I think he loves because Sketch is awesome.
Sketch is.
But also, and something just useful for us in our day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably more importantly.
Yeah, most importantly, yeah, just something that's useful. It's useful. We'll learn some stuff, and I think it's important that this year in 2025, I want to get into the habit of making progress on stuff. It doesn't just being consistent about it. I think quantity over quality is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes with the mindset you have to have, where it's more like just like with the exercise. What works is just consistently doing it. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you can't do like an hour, do half an hour. If you can't do it half an hour, do 15 minutes. Like, just do it consistently and you'll make progress. Focus too much on making everything perfect, making the design perfect for an app, for instance, or figuring out just a perfect idea or whatever. Then you never get anywhere. And that's where I've been many times. I think we've all experienced that in areas of our life, professionally and personally. You just kind of get like stuck. I think developers especially have this mentality. A lot of us are kind of detail oriented and maybe a little bit autistic and get a little fixated on things. So it's easy to fall down a rabbit hole and get into like analysis paralysis about stuff, especially when you're talking about like something like as complicated and with as many options as building a piece of software. Like you could just endlessly talk about how to build stuff. And so this is just one of the things I'm doing that I'm hoping just helps me stay consistent, because now because you guys are involved, so it gives extra accountability, especially Aaron here, because he's like he's gonna hold our feet to the fire. I can see it. He's so excited. He's already said more words in this episode than like last three.
I need to get better at just like starting up short sessions. Like if a lot of times I feel like if I don't have like several hours to dedicate to something, it's hard to get started.
Exactly.
So I need to figure out to start up a session, accomplish a small task, and move on and do that like several times a week.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like you just have to do it, because even like 15 minutes or something, you can make progress. It doesn't.
We want to at least start throwing in tasks in the project to just say, here's some things to do. I just drag a ticket and do something with it, or I'm going to create a ticket, do something with it, and then, or at least have discussions and like comment in there and be like, hey, how do you want to go approach building it, etc., etc. I could totally see, for example, trying to integrate the widgets early so that we can have a framework set up that can like take a UI on, a UI framework that can like say, okay, this could be used both as the bento item and the widget thing. If the core if the core layout is just like squares or rectangles, right, in the vein of like a widget size for all of them, then that's our target, right? Then that part is easy to like how do we say it? It's easy for us to like it kind of informs how we just build it, because basically all we're doing is like glorified widgets and a grid of glorified widgets. That's the way I'm looking at it. And then how you configure each widget might be the slight like question mark, because, you know, again, you might care about miles per week and I might care about like miles per day or something. I don't know. So like minor configurations like that for each one might be an open question, right? So how do we reveal that interface? How do we like allow for you to add and delete widgets? You know, all these open questions that we should probably start adding in the to-do. So we you know, in the next couple of days, we should probably just throw as many things as we can and like pick one or two that we want to work on for the week and kind of move from there.
Yeah, we have to figure out what it looks like when you first open the app, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, user journey.
Yeah, well, you can try to can add some tasks while we're sitting here in the.
So
the
I guess
project.
one of the things is like what you should, you know, app icon is an easy one, just, you know, as titles, you know, onboarding, like basic UI, main UI, whatever we call that. Yeah, which is the
What do you
grid,
mean, like,
basically. The
Bento
grid. Yeah. Let's see, we got app icon, onboarding, maybe widget, you know, just set up the widget integration early. But yeah, widget integration. I don't know how to describe it. HealthKit integration. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that. However, we're going to do that.
Yep.
So we're just we're adding. We're not. You can't see this because this is an audio podcast, but we're adding things to a GitHub project right now. It's riveting podcast listening right now.
Well, what you're hearing is how, I guess, if you want to take the analogy of like how a kickoff meeting might start.
Exactly.
Or might not kickoff. Might work.
Yeah. And we're not doing anything like super, let's say, formal. We're not using like a formal process like for naming these things or anything like that. We're just doing this. We're just keeping with the vibe of let's just do it.
Yep.
So this is hopefully this is useful to people that have not actually built a lot of stuff or worked on teams, because it really is just like this sometimes. You're just sitting there like, let's just write some stuff down, and then you collect all the things in one place, then you can process them. The important thing is, I got this from GTD, and it's probably elsewhere, but like getting things done process, it's important to separate the collection of stuff from the processing of the stuff and like doing stuff with it and doing things with the stuff. Like, so it's important just to collect it first. Then you can decide, you know, to refine it, and then you can decide what to do with it, and then you can do it. But if you try to do it all at once, you just get in the weeds.
Yeah.
So HealthKit integration is the last thing we had. These are more like, if you were going to use the terminology of Jira, these would probably be more like epics.
Yes. I mean, yeah, a fair amount of them would be epics.
Yeah, a fair amount of them would be epics. So we have like, basically we have UI, we have some kind of onboarding screen, app icon, of course, figure out how to do widgets, figure out how we're going to do HealthKit, and then, we need to select metrics.
Yep.
To surface.
Yep.
Because we haven't done that yet. And then, I mean,
I think the category of the, maybe, this is maybe like an optional conversation. This is conversational, but like, how do we categorize the difference between like could we add a title to like a different type of focus or a different type of, I don't know if anybody, this is an open question, a UX question of like, how often would you have different categories of different Bento profiles per se? Like, all three of us are going to have different sets of data, that metrics is that we're going to explore, but do we individually need to have more than just one combination or one preset?
So you want, like, you're talking about like having presets of collections of these things instead of just that picking,
changing the springboard in the focus mode on the changing the focus mode and the springboard changes its UI based on that. Do we do something similar, or even take advantage of focus mode to do the same thing? Open conversation.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is you thinking of collecting some of the metrics into a collection that we define. Like you say, like you're based upon like where you are in your journey, a sleep, walk, run. If you're more of a sleeper, they will give you like sleep stats and like resting heart rate. And then like if you're a walker, we'll give you like your last walk or something. If you're a runner, you get like run, something like that. Is that what you're saying? You get the sneaker one if you're running.
We can even almost do it like a scale, like casual, like it'll be like a button list, kind of like a video game where it's easy, normal, hard mode, right? So it's like, it'd be like casual, amateur, pro, something to that effect. Amateur is probably a bad word, but like, somewhere in like pro, semi-pro, or like, I don't know, active versus, so like casual, active, and maybe like proactive. You get where I'm going with that. So that we can give them presets. Actually, that'd probably be a good way to do like an onboarding session where we give them presets of like maybe possible things they might be, where they are in their active journey, and we will create a preset for them. And basically the preset is basically our preset.
I guess eventually you'd customize it to exactly what you want, if you know what you want.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to allow them to customize it long term, but like for the sake of them getting on board quickly, that would be how we would do it. The other thing that we want to consider is a backend, whether we want to use like core data to store anything, or for example, basically which widgets they're using. Like, how do we do that? Do we do that as a user, a keychain, item, user default, or maybe even using core data to just do some basic storage, for which then we can use CloudKit.
You're talking about like preference information, kind of?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, you can
It's not because the health data is going to be HealthKit, but then there's other data.
Yeah. More like settings of like, where you're, and I think, now that I think about it a little more deeply, like it might be just easier just to do like a synced keychain kind of thing that can just, if you go cross device for whatever reason, it wouldn't be so hard.
I think the expectation is that things work across devices. I mean, if we wanted to make it work with an iPad or something in the future, then it'd be nice to have that. But I don't think this is like we're not going to we're not going to like prioritize or anything yet. We're just writing it down.
No, that's low.
But like select a backend for like settings and stuff like that.
I mean, it's high priority in the sense that like we obviously every time they go into the app, it's set to.
But we're not. But at this moment, we're not prioritizing things. We're just writing them down.
Yeah. Correct.
So I think we have the basics here. If you have an app icon, you have a basic UI, the Bento grid. You have like a basic. You understand how to get the HealthKit data, and do an onboarding, which gets you to flip the switches for HealthKit and everything to work. That's most of it, and then widgets are not actually necessary, but that would be nice. And focus, okay.
Also, WatchKit integration for complications, and I guess and widgets for that matter. But yeah,
just WatchKit integration. Yeah.
So that is, I almost think of that as like a stretch goal.
Yeah.
But if we can get it in, that'll be just even as a simple like widget or I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I've never done well, we did the widget for that we did the Watch app, which is not really a widget. I don't think I've done a widget before. Maybe like a demo project, but yeah, I haven't done a full-on widget.
We did the complication in the widget, the WatchKit prior to them moving to app intents, I think.
Yeah, right. We haven't done anything with the new stuff. I haven't anyway. You might have in your job.
Well, Aaron might have.
Some small projects.
Yeah.
So this would be a nice push to like, and this is the thing about app intents that we probably should explore, and I'm fairly certain that Apple's trying to push us towards, is like integrating more of that in there, because I think they're less and less excited about us utilizing or the apps being the center of your universe and more like an integral part of Apple's overall system. So
yeah, we talked about that before. I mean, and we talked about it before with the new dingus. I can't say the word. With the Apple Intelligence stuff. I mean, in this case, yeah, I don't know know exactly how we would integrate intents into this since it's more of a read-only thing, but yeah, possibly. But it makes sense to look at that documentation and see if anything makes any sense for the application. I think we have a good list of stuff to start with here in the bucket. Now we just have to...
If you want to put the in-progress stuff for app icon, because you know me, the Bento grid, I can do that. And we all should probably look at select metrics to put in this to surface as the three that we want to. And I don't know if you guys have anything in terms of your capacity. What do you want to have working on that you think are going to be that you can work on?
Well, I mean, we need to figure out how to do HealthKit integration.
Yes, we definitely need to figure that out.
But like first, we need to figure out what metrics we want to do too.
What's even available? So yeah, that kind of falls.
So like, I think this is enough for now.
Yeah.
You can add people.
I don't remember. I forgot if you could actually do that back in the day in the prior projects, if it was still in draft mode. Or does it?
Yeah, I wish they didn't call it draft because it's not a draft. It's just not an issue. I don't know. You know, we're using GitHub right now, and I find their whole project thing a little bit confusing. But
yeah, it's still better than Jira.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I use Jira, but it's like a project that I control. So it's not that bad when you're the one in charge of it.
Yeah. When it gets into like the multiples of like 20 plus, that's when you realize the pain. But yeah, it'll be fine.
So it's pretty good, and we can. I like this little like you can add it. I can add a status.
Oh, okay.
So you can say we're currently on track, and our start date is today.
Speaking of start dates,
our target date is, what did we say our target date was going to be?
We said a quarter.
End of the quarter.
End of the quarter.
That would be like April 1st.
Okay, so that is a reasonable timeline. And now, are we targeting test flight build, or are we targeting?
I think we're targeting something that runs on our devices, probably test flight then. I don't think, because the problem with a target of, it must be released on this date is just that, you know how much of a pain in the ass that can end up being. Like you can just, because you need a website, you need like privacy policy, you need screenshots, you need all this other stuff that's not the app. And so I wouldn't want to, this is, or even just us. I think we can do that. Yeah. Why is it's like telling me a little squiggle?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Kickoff pod successful.
Save the update. So this is a nice, I don't know if you ever use this feature in the projects, but I have.
It feels new, but.
Oh, yeah. So I've used this. So the idea is that multiple people come and they look at the project board or whatever, and you can just have this one little icon. It says, oh, you're on track or you off track or whatever. And you have a little message. No, I can. It could just kind of gives you like the broadest idea of where you are. So everybody, basically some kind of project lead would probably put this on there and just kind of look at the status things. It's like, okay, we're good or we're not good or we're way off track or we're inactive, whatever. And then it's just a glanceable thing just to look at and say, okay, yeah. I just think it's fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
So good. I think that is pretty good for our kickoff podcast about this, considering it.
Yeah, I think we can officially wrap this one up. Let's see here. Let me do my little outro.
Yeah, I hope everybody has enjoyed the kickoff of yet another project that we'll probably never finish. No, we're going to do this one. We're going to do this one. We're going to finish this one. But we're going to try to record the podcast, I think, just like we did here. So you kind of get a feeling, a flavor of what the actual process is, aside from, I guess, coding. I don't know how much we're going to probably not try to like program on there, but we'll see.
No live coding.
No live coding. But this will be like if we had if you were to listen in on a team meeting or something.
Yep.
I guess. Yep. We're still figuring out how we want to record the pods, but hopefully they will be somewhat evergreen for people listening in the far-flung future of like 2027 right now, if you're listening to this. And you know that we were super successful and we're now billionaires
Well,
billionaires. We bought
Off this
Apple
free
with
app.
the money. Yes, we bought Apple with the money we made from this free app that is a dashboard of data that Apple provides us. It's weird, but somehow we did it.
At least Studio Display money. That's all we ask.
Studio Display money from our free app.
That's right.
I don't know how it's going to work out.
Maybe a conversation for another, because we don't have that project thing of like how to make money as like a
I'm going to put that in there.
Yes.
I'm going to put that in there. How
monetization. Thank you. Yeah, that's the word. But that's all we have for today. You can learn about Philly Cocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you'll find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. If you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing, Steve. Why do some software engineers struggle with spelling?
They didn't read enough as children? Why?
I mean, after all, they're also known as programmer.
Oh my God. So does that mean they're great at grammar, but just bad at spelling?
Well, it's a little
funny.
Little dad.
I
think that the subreddit was like, this is a dad's dad joke.
Yeah. It's not as bad as last week's. That one floored me. That one was just terrible.
One other thing. I want to give a shout out to the App Johns LLC. Joe Cretelis did a wonderful demo of this app. It's called MioVino, a wine tasting journey. Never forget a great wine again. MioVino transforms your wine journey with a intuitive approach to wine tasting and wine tracking. And tasting that works for everyone, from casual wine drinkers to aspiring sommelier. And it is actually on the App Store right now. So it's on MioVino.app. It is a fantastic way to categorize all your wine purchases. So it's on the iPhone and the iPad. Yeah, but just wanted to give them a shout out since they're local devs here in Philadelphia, or the Philadelphia region.
Yeah. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Till next time, good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always. Monetization.
Monetization.
Thank you.